Hey guys, this is Stacy from EatTheBite.com, and today I'm making a sweet and savory cornbread stuffing with sausage. Let me show you how to make it. Let's keep it simple and use Jiffy cornbread mix as our base. It's seriously fantastic, and you don't have to buy a bag of cornmeal you'll never use again. This is for Thanksgiving, so I'm making a big batch of stuffing. I used a 9x9 pan for the cornbread on the left and an 8x8 pan for the one on the right. And it's best if you make these a day or two before Thanksgiving. You'll need to cut the cornbread into cubes, so just cut in one direction, like you see here. Rotate the cornbread, then cut it into cubes. Once you've done this for both cornbreads, spread out the cubes on a large sheet pan. I took a moment here to cut some of the larger cubes down a bit. Next, you'll want to toast these in a preheated oven at 350 degrees for about 20 minutes. Then, once they're out of the oven, you just want to let them cool until you're finished with your prep work. This is stuffing, so we need to finely dice some celery. I always cut the ends off a bit since they can get a little dirty and wonky. It's always a good idea to cut the celery into sticks first. Then after that, you can dice it down into smaller bits. And I do usually run my knife over the celery a couple more times to make the pieces smaller. Next to the onion. First, I sliced the onion into thin strips. Then I diced it down into smaller bits from there. And just like the celery, I ran my knife over it a couple more times to get the pieces nice and small. I've got a couple of cloves of garlic, and first I sliced them into thin rounds. Then I diced those down into small bits from there. I'm using fresh sage and thyme here, and I like to stack my sage leaves on top of one another. Roll them up like a cigar, and then start dicing it down from there. You want to chop that down finely like you see here. With the thyme, we start by gently pulling the leaves from the stems. We want to start at the top and run your fingers down the stem. Then we'll chop that down so it's nice and fine, and then we'll add that to the ramekin with the sage. Then just toss it together with your hands for a bit. I've got some dried cranberries for this, and I'll put some of those in a bowl with all my other ingredients. Last up, I'm peeling an apple. Then I'll cut large chunks around the core. After that, I'll chop it into small pieces. Then I added that into a bowl with a little bit of water so it doesn't brown. So we've got our onions, celery, apple, dried cranberry, sage and thyme, the garlic, and, of course, butter. And now it's time to move this operation over to the stovetop. I've got melted butter in one pan, and I'm going to add my onion, celery, and apples. Now just give everything a mix around the pan to coat in the butter. I've also got to break apart that sausage in the other pan, and you'll keep breaking it down while cooking until it's crumbly in consistency. I'm going to season my onion mixture with a little bit of salt and pepper. Give it a stir around the pan. Then I'll continue stirring the sausage as well and breaking up the pieces. Now I'll add the garlic to the center of my onion pan. A little more butter. I'm going to let that butter melt and let it cook with the garlic for about 20 seconds on its own. Then I'm going to add the dried cranberries and give everything a good mix until it's well combined. After that, I did turn the heat off the onion pan and added the fresh sage and thyme, and you want to mix that until everything is well incorporated. Now we're going to add the sausage and any fat drippings, and we'll mix everything together one final time. Let's take a look at our flavor base for the cornbread stuffing. I thought my big mixing bowl would be enough to mix this stuffing, and I was so wrong. I had to bring out my monster mixing bowl for this job. I went ahead and I poured half the chicken broth over the cornbread cubes. Once that's done, you want to give the cornbread cubes a gentle toss around the bowl. Then I poured the remaining chicken broth on the cornbread and then let it sit for a couple of minutes. Now I'll add that awesome flavor base to the top of the cornbread. And I think it's easier to mix this with your hands, so I started tossing and gently squeezing the cornbread. It's up to you how many cornbread cubes you want to keep intact for presentation purposes. I knew I wanted some of the stuffing to be crumbly, and I also wanted some of those nice cubes showing too. I did give it a taste here and found it needed a little more salt, so I added that here and gave it one final toss. Once you're done mixing, it's time to bake our stuffing in the oven. I used 2 9x13 baking dishes here, and I greased the pan with some softened butter. Then I added half the stuffing into the baking dish. I did take a moment to even it out a bit on the top, and now it's time to prepare the second baking dish. Same drill. We're going to butter the baking dish. We'll add the rest of the stuffing in there. Then we're going to smooth it out on the top so it's all even. And now I am going to add a little something extra. I've got a squeeze bottle, a funnel, and a little melted butter. I transferred the butter into the bottle, and then I squeezed it on top of both of my baking dishes. I also had some of my favorite local honey on hand, and I took a little bit of that to drizzle over the top of my stuffing as well. Just a little extra touch of sweetness. Now we can bake this in our preheated oven at 350 degrees for about 30 to 40 minutes. And here's our sweet and savory cornbread stuffing with sausage right out of the oven. And now it's time to eat the bite. If you're a fan of sweet and savory flavor profiles, you are going to love this stuffing. The pop of sweetness from the cranberries, that little bit of honey, the savory sausage, onion, and celery. This one is a winner for sure, and I hope you give it a try. That's all for now. If you enjoyed this video, you should definitely like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And as always, this and all the printable recipes are available on my website at eatthebite.com. Oh, and if you're looking for more holiday recipes, don't forget to check out my Thanksgiving dinner, The Whole Shebang, a beginner and budget-friendly video with all the Thanksgiving staples. I'll leave a link to that below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. It's better if you have longer stems, because then you can get more leaves in one pull. Then again, you know, cooking is one of those things in life where, you know, there are certain tasks that are meant to be when all your daydreaming happens. And to me, pulling thyme little buds, leaves off the stems, whatever you want to call them, is one of those times. Ha, pun intended.